But yeah, Jake, you'll never forget the sound of that or those rocks on the beach
Oh, it's amazing.
when the wave pulls out. So there's like not any sandy beaches in Madeira, Jake. It's all like rocky beaches,
Yeah.
but it's just rocks that have been there for thousands and thousands of years. So like river rock.
Hmm.
It's like when the waves come in, when they go out, all these rocks just start tumbling,
Mm.
and it's just like in the water, it just has this crazy crackle as the waves pull away. It's fucking insane as you're sitting there with
That's
a
cool.
poncha. You like the poncha, Jake?
Yeah, so it was really good. I mean, what is it? Like how do they make it? It's like just super fruity. Well, I mean,
Orange
it
juice,
is it
rum, and
is
honey is basically all it is, but I've never been able to make it nearly as good here. I've tried a bunch.
yeah, and they just soak the fruit in there.
Yeah, but that poncha is delicious.
A podcast about bourbon and the ones who drink it. This is Bourbon Matters. Welcome to Bourbon Matters. I'm Jake.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Gold Eagle Jake.
And tonight we are playing the shopping cart challenge.
Grocery store game, whatever they used to call it.
So we're trying to put together what we think are the best carts priced at different levels or with different price caps, I'd say.
Yeah.
So Dan, this was your idea, so go ahead and run us through it.
Well, it was a great idea, so of course it was mine. That's obvious. We talked about it a few times between ourselves and never really did anything about it. And then I kind of decided to make a little change to it. So we have to put shopping carts together for 3 different categories. The first category is we couldn't spend over $100, and we had to have at least 3 bottles. And this category is for people that are kind of starting off their bourbon collection journey, things that you should have. You can walk into any liquor store, find a lot of these things, spend less than $100, walk out with at least 3, if not 4 or 5 bottles of whiskey, and know that you're getting good things for that price range. Second level we have is a $300 level shopping cart, and this is going to be more whiskeys specialized for people that have started to build their collection already and they're now looking to expand a little bit. Any type of whiskey is allowed. Again, it has to be a minimum of $3. Cart price under $300. And then the final cart that we have is a $500 cart. Again, have to have at least 3 bottles, and this is for people that are have a pretty strong collection already and need a few things in there to spice it up or impress people. Basically, the main rules of this was we just make it simple, Gold Eagle's cart, sales price is counted. So if it was on sale at Gold Eagle, you were allowed to use it. We could not use barrel picks just in case you're not in the listening area. That way you could find them in some of these might be a little bit harder to find, but you will be able to find them in a liquor store. It's nothing that's heavily allocated or anything like that. It's just if they have it or not in stock. So most of the stuff you can find on the shelves. If you are close, just know that we just recently looked these up. So they still might be available in the store if you were looking for some of these. But I think that was the main rule. We're not worried about tax. No one cares about tax.
Yeah.
So it's just bottle prices had to equal below 100, 300, and 500. Minimum 3 bottles. And then what we're going to do is we'll go through each price level. We'll explain what we put for our bottles, why we put them there. We'll have a little talk and see what we think the general consensus for the better cart was. Feel free to leave comments down below as well. I guess
Let us know what your cart would be.
Yeah, what's your cart going to be? Who do you think has a better cart? We obviously know it's either going to be me or Gold Eagle Jake. That's pretty self-explanatory. I got the mic, so I guess I'll start off with my 3 for a starter collection. Starting to collect under $100. Wanted to have a couple different types of things. I did want to stick with bourbon, just knowing that a lot of us start our whiskey adventure off on the bourbon side. Plus, That's my favorite style in here. So I just was looking for some different bourbons that would be priced all around the $30 range and have a pretty good selection of a few different flavors, proof points, styles of bourbon, things like that. So, first thing I went with, the cheapest bottle I have on my list, is $23.99 on sale at Gold Eagle. And that's going to be my highest proof one. That's going to be Benchmark Full Proof. That's 125 proof bourbon for $24. Hell of a deal for the price. It's a Buffalo Trace product, so people go crazy for it. We're seeing it more and more. But for something that I wanted a little bit higher proof, I started there and thought for the flavor you get, the price point of it, the proof point of it, really hard to pass off. The second one I picked on this is something that was on sale, and because it was on sale, it kept my cart at $95.97. It's one of my favorite ones that we don't talk about a ton. We've talked about it a few times. It's not one
James
of the big
Pepper.
names. It's not James Pepper. I did not put James Pepper here.
I'm
I talk
kidding,
about that a lot.
because we talk about it a lot.
I know. I
Or
was
you
gonna
talk
put it in-
about it a lot.
Yeah, I know. I was going to put it in here, but I was trying to get. I saw this was on sale and it fit in my list, so I decided to keep it. Smooth Ambler Contradiction Bourbon. I've always been a fan of that. On sale right now for $32.99. It is a high rye bourbon, which is my favorite style of bourbons. I do like a little bit of the rice spice in with a bourbon. I can see taking a lot of flack for this with it being an MGP juice product with some of Smooth Ambler's younger stuff in it. The bottle looks kind of cool with the elephant. So it's something that's a little bit more unique than what your normal Woodfords and stuff like that would be for right around the same price point. And finally, I wanted to go
real quick. I think we reviewed that in like episode 2 or 3, and I think unanimously liked it. So
yeah,
it's
very
it's
green
definitely
apple on
good.
that one. It's got a lot of their 2-year-old stuff in there from Smooth Ambler, so it has a lot of the young green apple notes to it, which is a flavor profile I really like. That's a 92 proof, so pretty easily drinkable. My last bottle I picked, I wanted something. As you're building your collection, it's nice to have something that's a little bit fancier. So I went with one that's fairly expensive for a $100 cart, which is $38.99. And that's going to be Maker's Mark 46. Just something that has a little bit different style of a flavor. So you have a normal bourbon that's high proof, a normal straight bourbon, and then Maker's Mark 46 with the French oak staves gives you a little bit different flavor profile. $38.99 for 94 proof bourbon. I thought it would be a nice little 3 bottles, all right around the $30 range, to kick off a collection with. So, what are your guys's? I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna have any really critical thoughts one way or the other on ours. I think they're all gonna be pretty solid, but that's kind of the thought process I went for a starter kit.
Yeah. What's the proof on the Smooth Ambler?
The Smooth Ambler's 92. The Maker's Mark is 46, or Maker's 46 is 94.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah. You have a pretty well-rounded selection. You've got Benchmark, which is probably no one knows what the mash bill is, but it's a good old American bourbon that probably high corn content. So and you get the full proof. You got the Smooth Ambler, which is a lower proof but high rise. You get another flavor profile, and then you throw in the Maker's 46 with the weeded and French oak staves. It's a pretty well-rounded cart, I'd say.
yeah, you don't get a lot. I mean, I know some of you guys might have more than 3 bottles in there. I stayed closer to the high end and keeping it at 95, 97 with 3 bottles, but there's not any like really cheap ones on here, which isn't a bad thing. Like I remember a couple of years ago, the Zachariah Harris in our blind advent calendar went over pretty well for the price point.
Yeah.
I thought about throwing something like that in here, but I kind of stood here. Jake, what are your thoughts on my $100?
Yeah, so Dan, I do like your cart. I think you hit a couple different things there. With different styles of whiskey. Too bad there's not a rye in there. I know Jake would have appreciated that a lot more. My only thing was, if I was building a cart for a beginner, I don't think I'd go as high proof as the Benchmark full proof, but the Benchmark Full Proof is something that I included in one of my other carts. So I can't blame you for putting that in there. It's just such a good value.
Yeah, I debated on going something high proof on there or not. I just, for the price point, it fit in really nice, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw it in. So warm yourself, learn to warm yourself up and appreciate a foolproof bourbon, I guess.
Yeah,
that's my thought. Well, I guess since you were talking, what's in your $100 cart then?
It's gonna spill a tad over $100. Hope that's okay.
Oh, boo!
Well, I didn't.
This is Price is Right rules, bitch. Like everyone knows Price is Right. So you already lost the first round.
You can make me lose round one. That's fine. If you really want to put up a fit, I'll give you a coupon code to get it down to under 100.
No, fair.
But yeah, I kind of went for like around 100. Didn't realize we had to stay under. I promise my next carts will stay under.
We talked in the text thread of how close we were to going over.
Yeah.
Also would have been a sign.
Okay,
give them the coupon code.
well, I think I'll do a coupon code for like a $500 cart. That'd be a pretty cool thing to give out. Is like a big at the end, like a big discount for a big cart. But so I only picked 3 bottles, and I think they're all pretty different. Bottle number 1, which if you're a big bourbon person, and if you know me, you probably assume this is going to be in there. Wild Turkey 101. I think it is the Benchmark. It is just kind of hits all the different marks of bourbon. It's at the right proof point. It has a little bit of fruitiness, has a little bit of rye spice, has a little bit of oak, and I think it's just a really good benchmark to base other bourbons off of. So Wild Turkey 101 is in there. I believe it's just under $25 on the shelf. Bottle number 2, something a little bit lower proof that is very easily findable, is Green River bourbon, just the straight bourbon. We put that in a blind up against Buffalo Trace with the Lake County Whiskey Club, and the Green River took it down. We just had a Green River masterclass this week, and I loved how they talked about and were super proud of the fact that it's never going to be allocated. They waited until they had plenty of it to reach all the markets that they were in. So I think this is a full flavor 90 proof bourbon that you can find anywhere, with just the right amount of rye to give you a good amount of spice where it's not going to throw you backward, but it's going to give the whiskey a little bit more character. And then my higher end bottle, which is going to push me just over the $100 mark, is Old Forester 1920. I think this 115 proof point is perfect for a gateway to get into the higher proofs. What's that face for, Dan?
Nothing.
He doesn't like that one.
Whiskey. 100. You go over budget with a high proof whiskey.
Wait, I'm 115 proof. You're at 125.
Yeah. I bet our averages are all the same if you add them up and divide by 3.
All right. So 115 proof. This one is much different than the first 2 I recommended. I think it's a lot more sweeter and has a lot more of your classic vanilla and caramel notes and oak. So this is, to me, the perfect gateway to bring people from that 100 proof sweet spot up to the 115 plus proof point. So this is one that I would absolutely recommend for somebody who's just starting off that wants to bring themselves to a little bit higher proof point.
Yeah.
Thoughts, comments,
I think
concerns?
I think those are good options. Wild Turkey 101 is great for the price. Green River is fantastic for the price. I think it's the 1920 Old Forester that I don't particularly care for, if I'm remembering correctly. But I think that's probably a good entry-level high-proof whiskey to recommend. And it's also like pretty affordable. So yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty well-rounded cart, even though you cheated and went over the price.
I did
cap.
cheat a little bit. I'm sorry, but
You're definitely going to lose round one because of cheating and not following the rules.
you can disqualify me. That's fine. I mean, we'll wait
Yeah,
and see the
DQ'd.
comments.
DQ'd. So when I was picking my list, like I knew some of the things you guys were going to pick, and I knew Green River was going to be in there, and I think it's a perfect pick in here. And it was just the other week at work. There's a couple guys that I work with that are getting bigger and bigger into whiskey, and one of them said, "Hey, I want to grab a bottle for around $30. What should I get?" And first thing I said without hesitating was the Green River Straight Bourbon.
Yeah, even the weeded is a good entry
Oh, the
level
weed is
one.
horrible.
Oh, you don't
Weed
like
is-
it?
I do not like the weeded at all.
It's pretty good.
It's
I don't
awful.
mind it.
Go straight bourbon. Don't go weeded. No.
I do prefer the bourbon to the weeded, but
The weeded's good,
for
but
people
it's,
who are looking to like really get into whiskey at first, like the weeded is usually a good call.
yeah, the Green River weeded just isn't as soft as some other weededs on the market.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good list too. Like I don't have any problems with any of them on there except for the
Price.
fact that you cheated. That's the only problem I have. Yeah, dirty cheater.
It's kind of like
Jake.
when Jake said Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is not allocated a couple years ago, and it went all the way in our bracket.
for C923,
Yeah.
one of the best whiskeys of the year.
I got 3 of them, so it can't be that difficult to find, and it's not even allocated anymore. Basically,
It's because it's gone.
It is.
Well,
but,
barrel proof's still allocated. Yeah.
but
Jake
yeah,
cheated
when
and
we
won.
said it, when
Jake's
we
got like 20 boxes sitting on his floor.
if he said
Shocker that Jake
easily
cheated to get more.
easily findable bottles, yeah, that would not be in there.
We said
I-
findable, not easily.
I don't know. I
Nothing
think
allocated.
yeah, the
I said
whole
you should be able to find it at other stores.
the whole point was similar to this. It was to our listeners all across the U.S. Here, you can go out and grab a bottle of this if it does really well.
Some of these are probably, especially as we get to the next couple levels, you might have to go to a few stores. It's not going to be in every single store, but if you go to some of the bigger whiskey stores out there, you'll find it. It's not like it's allocated and they're holding it behind the shelf.
Yeah. Everything that I have on mine should be on the shelf, or it's like somewhat regularly on the shelf. Yeah. All right, but here's the winning cart. So, got to start with the OG Elijah Craig small batch for $33.99. For my cart, when I was putting it together, I was trying to captures like a full range of like entry level proofs. So started at lower proof with the Elijah small batch. I also went with Wild Turkey, but I did the Rye 101 for $24.99. Not only is it a great sipper, but it's also fantastic in cocktails. So that's a big high recommendation from me for an entry level. I've got Old Granddad Bonded at $23.99 to get you at 100 proof. And then my quote unquote high proof coming in at the good old 107 is Fighting Cock at $16.99. If you're following along at home, you might say, Jake, that's over $100. And that's when I say to you, use the coupon code BMCOCK and you come in at a cool $99.96.
I said
The
that
number
was
one
legit.
used
You listened.
coupon code from this podcast.
As it should be.
As it should
BM
be.
Cock, folks. 15 or 10 or 15, I think it might be 15% off Fighting Cock bourbon.
I think it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Old Granddad was another one I thought that you guys were going to put in, so I stayed away from it. That was definitely one that had my list.
It's a banger
Yeah.
for under $25, 100 proof. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Took down
to me.
E.H. Taylor, which just went up in price.
All Buffalo Trace stuff went up.
Yeah, I don't think the Weller line did, or standard Buffalo Trace, but the rest of it
All
did.
the Taylors, the Eagles, all that I heard went up.
Yeah, Taylor is now going to be 70. Eagle Rare is going to be 55. Blant is going to be 90. So They took some price
They like
increases
doubled
this year.
Blanton's.
No,
No,
Blanton's,
has been
Blanton's
like-
was 80.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was
I
65
thought
a
it
couple
was like-
years ago, and then it
Yeah,
got
it
to
was
80.
yeah,
I
2-3
thought it was
years
closer to,
ago
like,
it was like
Taylor's-
60.
Taylor was
Taylor-
2 years ago was $35. Now it's 70, but you got to pay for that tube. I mean, that
Taylor,
cardboard's not cheap.
yeah, Taylor went up big time. I mean, they know people are going to pay, so
That's dumb.
yeah, it's super dumb.
What everyone's doing. It's the industry
know,
trend.
All right, we don't need to get into another whiskey.
Yeah,
car
this is
conversation.
another episode.
All right, any thoughts on mine, or do you want to move on?
It's a shitty cart, but I think the Granddad's fine.
No,
I
I
was not
think
surprised about Elijah when I was looking at stuff, I'm like, well, Elijah Craig's going to be in this from Jake. And then I figured Green River was going to be one of you two, and I figured Old Granddad was going to be one of you two. Actually,
Yeah, I
I
think-
thought Gold Eagle Jake was going to have the Old Granddad.
I think those are staples. I think it's a good cart. It is probably the most bland cart out of all three of us. But if you're trying to start a whiskey collection, I do think those are very
It's
good
the
bottles to
starter
throw in there.
pack.
The starter pack. Do you just AI Google search whiskey starter pack $100?
No, I spent actually probably the most time on my $100
Oh,
cart
of
course
trying
you
to.
You probably spent more
'cause I
time than
didn't
either
want-
me or Jake combined.
I didn't want just 3. I wanted to cram 4 in there.
Yeah.
So I had to play with the numbers a little bit to get them to work.
All right.
All right,
Well,
300. Dan?
why don't you go first? You just went. I went first last time.
All right, I'm good with that. So for my $300 cart, my first one was Baker's 7 2024 release for $69.99. I've got Heaven Hill Bottled in Bond for $44.99. Maker's Mark Cast Strength for $39.99. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A125 for $69.99. Knob Creek 9 Year for $38.99. And Elijah Craig Rye for $32.99.
Jesus Christ!
So
throw more
again, on
Elijah
this
Craig
one,
in.
I'm trying to hit some. What did you say?
So throw more Elijah Craig in. Why don't you?
Well, so I wanted to up the quality of my rye because I wanted a rye, at least one rye in every one of my carts. Again, Elijah Craig rye is good for cocktails or sipping neat. It's still not super expensive, so you don't have to feel guilty about making a cocktail with it. And I wanted to hit some other proof points. I wanted to throw a couple like more special things in there, like the Bakers and Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, because you're trying to expand your collection. And the Heaven Hill Bib is just super versatile. So, and I threw in a Weeded with Maker's Mark, so branching out in mash bills too.
I mean, the other thing you could do is just go to Heaven Hill's tasting room and just buy whatever they have there and call it your $300 cart. Like,
I was
Way
gonna
to-
do
way-
an entire
way-
Heaven Hill
way-
cart, and then
way to
I was
really
like, I don't
expand
want to
the
deal with
collection.
Dan.
way to really expand a collection by not choosing any variety. I really
have how many different distilleries so far? Heaven
Yeah.
Hill, Wild Turkey, Beam, Makers.
The big
4
six.
different distilleries so far.
4 different distilleries. And how many bottles?
That's
How
10
many?
bottles.
10?
10 bottles. 4 different distilleries. So that means 6 of them are Heaven Hill so far. Good variety.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Good variety. Way to really expand a collection and get outside a comfort zone. I really appreciate that.
Well, I think for my 500, I only have one.
Oh,
I have
so
two-
now
I
he's
have
only going to
2
have
big-
One distillery?
7. No,
No,
one Heaven
2
Hill.
from the Big 6.
Oh,
I
One-
don't have
okay.
any Heaven Hill
wow.
in my $500 cart.
Well, Jake, I'll go next, and then you can go back to finish off the 300 and start the 500. On this level, I didn't pick a lot of really expensive stuff, even though I had some room to play with. I'll start with the most expensives and work my way down. I kind of wanted to expand out my categories a little bit and broaden my reach and not just use one distillery for everything. because I think it's nice to get some different flavors out there. The most expensive ones, I had two expensive, or the two that tied for the most expensive. My first one was Knob Creek 12 year for $72.99. We've talked about that enough on this show. It's one of my favorites. And that's $72.99. My second one, also at $72.99, is Whiskey Acres 7 year, because that's been one of my favorite releases we ever had when I was at Whiskey Acres. Starting to work some craft into here. Again, just not trying to go all with just one massive distillery and all have stuff taste the exact same. Wanted to get some craft work in, and I couldn't turn my back on my old favorite place to be.
I was waiting for some Whiskey Acres, Dan. Thank you.
Yep. Threw it in there.
And it's on sale,
down the list
right?
Yeah, it's on sale for $72.99.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgot to mention I did have two. Yeah. So I threw Whiskey Acres 7 year on that. Next one down on the price list was Larceny Barrel Proof C924 for $64.99 on the shelf. Again, went with 3 bourbons to start off with. I have 2 more.
Which release was that?
C924. The last one from last year.
I think as of this podcast, we have 2 bottles on the shelf I saw today. We might get more. I don't know. It's actually been something that we can order more of, which is really nice to see.
The Larceny hasn't been as hard recently. It seems like I see more of the Larceny batch proof out than I do of the Elijah Craig.
Yes. This is the first time for Elijah Craig Barrel Proof we've gotten enough to have it on the shelf for days. But yeah, I think as we've seen with other Heaven Hill products, McKenna, the Bottled and Bond, I think they're just producing more of the stuff that people really want, which is nice to see.
Yeah. My last 2, I wanted to expand the profile of the collection out a little bit in this middle tier for people that are just expanding their collection outwards. So I did want to include a rye. My cheapest one on the list is Jack Daniel's Bonded Rye at $37.99. To get a little bit of rye flavoring in there. We've talked about that at nauseum as well on this episode, something that we all like from Jack, rye that I can drink. And then you guys are probably going to be shocked at this. I threw a scotch in my expanding out your collection in here.
Wow.
And I did this because we've talked about it a lot, of the fact that most people think of scotch and they think peaty messes. I threw Mossburn Speyside blended malt in here for $44.99, and that gives us a little bit of pushing outwards. 5 bottles, 5 different distilleries, including a rye, a scotch, and a craft distillery on here. A little bit of range of proofs with the Larceny Barrel Proof, so that's the cart that I decided to put together. I know Jake's not a fan of my Knob Creek 12 year, but I think for the price, you're not going to find much better age at that price in American bourbon. But
I don't know why people hate on Knob 12 so much.
Listen,
I like it.
Listen, it's a great pour. I do think it's better than the 15 and the 18 year for the price.
Same.
My only downside of it is I just prefer the single barrel, which is cheaper and higher proof.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Knob 12 is a great pour. You're not going to find a 12-year bourbon at 100 proof at that price point.
Yeah. All said and done, my cart was $293.95. So that's where I went.
Cool.
Jake, you want to let us know what you can get for $300 at your store for expanding your collection outward?
For $300. And this time I stayed under $300.
Hey, following the rules, finally.
Yeah. All right. So the first thing, we're stepping up our proof a little bit. Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof Bourbon. This is one that is always a single barrel, but every single barrel that I've had has been phenomenal. Even the ones that the distillers picked. So I'd highly recommend this if you want something a little bit higher proof. I call it the Stag Killer. I don't get it as much burn as I do in Stag, but it still has the same bold flavors. So Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof, number 1. Number 2, going back to the Fighting Cock. 1999, 103 proof. Lost by 1 vote to Blanton's Gold in one of our blind tastings. This is one that should be in everybody's cart, no matter how much you're spending, I think. And yeah, abuse that BM cock.
Just to use the coupon code.
Just to use it, 15% off. Yeah, we don't have to keep harping on it, but it's just such a good Heaven Hill product. And the moment they decide to rebrand it and put like a fancy cork on it, this bottle is going to be $60 or $70. Just wait.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's $20. Knob Creek single barrel in there. You should be able to find this at any place. And again, every single barrel is different. But for me, a 9-year, 120 proof Kentucky bourbon at $65 is just a great value. It's one of my favorite go-tos. It's my favorite old-fashioned bourbon. I love a higher proof and all the bold caramel and vanilla flavors that it has. So this is a great pour for me. And then one of Dan's first rounds, Benchmark Full Proof, is in here just because I do think for $24, 125 proof Buffalo Trace product, can't go wrong with that. Then a little bit of a curveball, Craft Distillery, which is my favorite craft distillery, Chattanooga. I threw in there 111. I think this is a perfect proof point where you get a little taste of the high proof, but it's not in your face. So even if you're just kind of getting into the higher proof and expanding your collection and palate a little bit, I think the Chattanooga 111 proof with those honey malts and caramel malts rounds it out with some really nice sweetness. This is an easy sipper for $52.99. And then my true curveball is the Bacta 1928 rye.
That's a good one.
I always crave a little bit of sweetness now and then. I am an Armagnac guy, so this one blends in a little bit of Calvados and a little bit of Armagnac, finished in French oak, so rounds it out with some nice spice. But I couldn't just drink bourbon only and rye for the rest of my life. So this one kind of gives me a little bit of that sweetness that I go for in Armagnac and Calvados and other types of brandies. So yeah, the Bacta 1928 rye for $69.99 is my last bottle and probably my biggest curveball in this $300 category.
Yeah, I don't think the Chattanooga is a curveball at all.
No.
We've talked a lot about that distillery. I really like your $300 cart, mixing some of the higher price stuff with some of the cheaper bottles. Well-rounded carts, different flavor profile, not all the same distillery. It's pretty nice. I like that.
Thank you.
I like your cart better than my cart, and
All
Jake's
right.
cart's just dumb. So I would vote for you on that one over me.
Thank you.
Man, we knew what the competition was going to be coming into here. So it was going to be me versus you anyways.
So far, me and Jake have overlapped fairly significantly. So
A little bit.
either we're
a little
right
bit.
or you're right, and we all know that 2 beats 1. So
Yours aren't very similar at all. You have 2 bottles that have shared back and forth, and then
No,
the rest of his
'cause-
are wildly different than yours.
we both had one of the Wild Turkey 101s. We both have Fighting Cock. And we both have Chattanooga 111, but I'm going to get to that in a minute.
But it's not in this category. Yeah. And then you also have everything else is just a normal Heaven Hill product.
I do think I do think the Chattanooga is a really good one to throw in because there's not many other as high malt American whiskeys as Chattanooga.
It's definitely got a different flavor profile, and it's without lacking, some of the traditional bourbon flavors.
Right,
It
yeah,
just
it has-
adds that little bit of additional nuance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm guessing. So before we get into the $500 round, when I was looking for bottles for my if you're a collector and are looking to have things that are special in your collection, I almost bet that one of these that you guys are going to put in there is the quintessential malt, American malt. No,
I can say I thought about it, but it's not in mine. And Jake has a look like it's in his.
Yeah. So again, like I knew what you guys are going to put in, so I tried to stay away from that. I can't see Jake because my list is over that third of the screen right now, which makes me feel good.
Or you mean you purposely pull something up to block his face?
Well,
Yeah.
technically, I was over there, and then you lagged out and came back in, and we all got shoved down.
Yeah, Dan's unfortunately in the middle of my screen, so I can't do anything about it.
But yeah, so I knew the quintessential was coming up. So
All right. Yeah, I do like your card a lot. Also, Jake.
Thank you.
I like the variety. Yeah, lots of good different proof points, and I like the addition of the Bacta 1928. I think that was a good call.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Single barrel proof from Jack is another good call too.
Yeah, that's just one that you can just grab a single barrel. Same Jack and Knob Creek. I feel like you can grab a single barrel from anywhere, and you're not going to get something bad. They're a little different, but they're always good. And yeah, obviously, if you know what you like and you like what you like, you're going to stick to one flavor profile. But as we're building these carts, we're trying to get a little bit of everything in there. So I just went for a little bit of variety.
Nice. You want to kick us off on the $500 cart for the person that has a collection and wants a few nice things in there, or a couple things that are going to stand out?
Sure. All right. So I feel like with this cart, like I picked a few things that were very unique, but at the same time, I also picked a few things that I think are staples that somebody should have in their collection. So I'll go with the staples first. Number one is Four Roses Small Batch Select. I think that's a super flavorful, easily findable bourbon for $60. Whether you're a bourbon connoisseur or somebody that's just getting into it, like this is something that you should have to share with people because it's extremely flavorful and very approachable. I think it's like 103 proof. So Four Roses Small Batch Select. Early Times Bottled and Bond. Got to have something bottled and bond in there. Early Times has a nice high rye profile. Super approachable at 100 proof. Makes a great old fashioned, great Manhattan. You can sip it neat, sip it over ice.
Reasonably priced too.
Very reasonably priced. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A125. It's on the shelf right now, so how could you not? I find it kind of funny because I had somebody ask me the other day, is the Elijah Craig worth the money? And I'm like, what do you mean? Of course it's worth the money. It's a almost 11-year bourbon at 125 proof for $70. Like, what kind of world are we living in now where we're asking if Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is worth the money?
Right. Almost always the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, rewind like a year or two ago, and those bottles would have been gone within 10 seconds. So yeah, I think an almost 11-year bourbon for under $70 at barrel proof is absolutely worth the money. How could you not? And then we get into a little bit of off the chart things. So Middle West. I had to include Middle West into this.
Heavily on that.
Their wheat whiskey, cash strength wheat whiskey, $59.99. I am not normally a wheat whiskey person, but Middle West, the regular, I think it's like 90 proof wheat whiskey blew me away. The cash strength wheat whiskey blew me away, and it's under $60. This is a distillery. If you don't know about Middle West yet, you need to check out their products and taste a few of their products. They're a massive contract distiller, but they're producing they're producing all of their own whiskeys that are absolutely phenomenal, and they're priced very, very well. So Middle West,
I brought a special release from Middle West to last year's Lake County Whiskey Club birthday bash. It was one of the allocated ticket pours. I believe it was the first one to go, and it was up against E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof, straight from the barrel Blantons, and a bunch of other like heavy hitters. Just shows like how freaking good it was, and it was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, so Middle West, definitely keep an eye out for them. I think their pumpernickel rye, their bourbon, they're all great. But yeah, the wheat whiskey really jumped out at me because I'm not normally a wheat whiskey fan, and this thing is just full of flavor and easy to drink at its proof point. Um, so my high end bottle in this category is Seagrass Gray Label.
Whoa.
What do we think about that?
That should be like your entire cart price.
It's 150 now. Or
Is it?
It says
200,
199.
200, 200,
199.
Yeah, so
because it's in my it's in my list.
It's still gonna fit into my price, but yeah. So it used to be 250. They dropped it down to 150, and then they just went back up to 200. Seagrass Gray Label. So Seagrass is one of my like guilty pleasures. Like I said earlier, sometimes I like something a little bit sweet. This is like a summer patio pounder at 130 proof. It's got got your tropical fruit notes. It doesn't taste anywhere near 130 proof. It's got, I'm pretty sure the current batch that we have is either a 16-year or 19-year minimum age statement. And yeah, it's just one of those pours that it's a guilty pleasure that I just reach for. But yeah, I think the Seagrass, and if you're building a $500 cart, I feel like you have to have one bottle that's expensive. So I had to choose something in the $150, $200 price range. So the Seagrass Gray Label would be my go-to for that. I think out of all the Gray Labels, this is by far my favorite. As I said, it has that tropical fruit note that just is a great summertime whiskey, because there's not a lot of high proof whiskeys I want to drink in the summertime, but this would definitely be one of them. And then finally, I had to put a Scotch in there. If you know me, you gotta have a little peat. So my Scotch would be, of course, Torabeg Alt Glen. Went out to the distillery 2 years ago. They market themselves as well-tempered peat. So it's kind of going to hit your notes of unpeated Scotch and a peated Scotch at the same time. It's very approachable, even for people who aren't a huge fan of peat. And it's priced at $60. We have it on sale for $54.99. So yeah, the Torabeg Alt Glen would be my go-to for a reasonably priced, full-flavored Scotch with a little bit of peat.
Is that the first release?
The second release, but it's the first release the first release that we got in the U.S. Yeah, the first release was just in Scotland.
Yep.
So, yeah, that would be my go-to for a great Scotch at a reasonable price.
We have a little bit of overlap on this one.
Do we? Well, I think great minds think alike.
And it's a little different, but a lot very similar. So, yeah.
Do you want?
I mean, obviously we know. I guess I can go. I mean, we know it's going to be.
Yeah, unless Jake has some feedback, but.
I think it's good, well-rounded. I like the addition of the Seagrass Gray Label. I think that's pretty good. High dollar choice. If you're going to spend your money, on something, I think that's a good one to pick.
Thank you.
Nice. All right, my list is short and sweet.
Dan, I can be cordial and give constructive feedback.
Yeah, but it was a good list.
My card, so
I gave him good feedback on the last card. I voted for him last card. Just because he didn't have everything as Heaven Hill. I only have 3 in my cart. Jake already spoiled one. My big one was Barrel Craft Gray Label Seagrass for $199. That was in my cart. That was my big ticket item. All these are pretty big ticket items. I went with this as I got $500. People are coming over. I got a decent collection. I want some standouts on the shelf. That was the most expensive one I put in here. Jake's already stole another Thunder, so I'll get that one out of the way right away. My cheapest one in the cart, Old Elk Wheat Whiskey 10-year.
That's a great bottle.
Going with for $129.99. Again, going with a wheat whiskey, just something that's not going to be in your standard bourbon and rye collection. I like the wheat whiskey side. I like the age on it. I love Old Elk's product line. So that one I have at $129.99. And then I'm going to go to a country we haven't gone to yet.
Ooh.
We're going to go over to Ireland. I don't like a lot of Irish whiskey, but Jake let me have some of his when he bought one once. And it's back in stock and on the shelves. And that would be Blue Spot Irish Whiskey.
Ooh.
Yeah.
For $169.99, they currently have a limit of 2 on the Gold Eagle website and Gold Eagle app. So there's not a lot, but these are things where if you have some people over that are bourbon drinkers, they're going to stand out. You want to get 3 bottles for $500. It's going to be a good display of different flavors. We talked about the flavor of the seagrass. We talked about flavors of wheat whiskey, and then giving you something different with Irish. So that ended up being $499.97.
Damn,
came
cutting
in
it
3
close.
cents under limit.
Jeez.
It's under. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how close it is underneath. I came in under, and I like the one thing I wanted. I wish I had more in here, but I was looking at doing not all high end over $100 bottles. But then I'm like, you know what? All 3 of those prices aren't bad for those bottles at all. For the quality you're going to get out of it. So that's where
they're not.
Yeah.
No, I like the way you worded it. You know, you have a big collection. You have some people coming over. You got $500 to spend. Let's go for some wow bottles that are gonna be the showcase of the evening, and let some people try some things that are a little unique that they probably don't have in their collections.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. You can kind of go whatever way you wanted here, but that's the path I took. Stuff that's going to be on your top shelf that's going to be for special occasions, stand out. If you got the money for $500 worth of whiskey and you already have a collection, this is what my mind went to. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you put Blue Spot in there. I am a little unhappy that they keep raising the price by like $50 every year.
Well, I
but
think-
it's
no.
a phenomenal whiskey.
So I was gonna comment, but I think the prices like went way up and then came down.
Yeah, they just came back down.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
because
that's
it was over 200 some bucks.
It was like $280
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Blue Spot, and then we just got some more a week ago, and it was back way down, and now it's $170. So I don't know
Oh,
if that
no
was
shit. Wow.
yeah, which is I think it's on the site right now. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah.
I have one. I've been stashing. I have one that's open and one as a backup because I was like, I'm never going to pay $300 for this.
Yeah,
But for
But
170, that's
it's crazy
a good
because like I
price.
remember like the first one you got from Sam a while ago was like 180.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, that's dumb. And then like the next time we saw it, it was like 300 some bucks. And I'm like, well, good thing Jake got it for 180.
Yeah, for real.
So, but
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm glad you put that one in because it is unbelievably flavorful. It's like one of
cigar.
the best
perfect cigar
pairings.
summer nights. Cigar
And,
fire.
'tis the season. St. Patty's this weekend.
Yeah, there you go. If you need an
Ooh,
excuse.
did we just find our coupon? Did we stumble into a coupon code?
Well, I don't know if Blue Spot
Probably
will
not.
still be there. So
Probably
we-
not. That's true.
I was
true.
gonna do like a big like spend $500
Oh,
get
yeah.
15% off. Put whatever you want in the cart.
Ooh. Well, if you do that, I'm buying all 3 of these.
Oh,
All right, so I guess winners go last.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So-
if you want to stop listening right now, you can stop. Thanks for listening. You find us on Spotify, YouTube.
Gold Eagle app.
Go to Gold Eagle.
We'll go into overtime for people that just don't really care about whiskey. So,
So I'll get it out of the way because Dan already called it. My first one was Cedar Ridge's the quintessential cigar malt. I wanted to put an American single malt in here, and this is my all-time favorite. It's just so freaking good. Highly recommended if anybody has not tried it.
I'm glad it made it in here because that is something that was on my radar for this. I think they're one of the most underrated craft distilleries in the Midwest by far.
Yeah, and Ed, it's $99.99 for a barrel proof single malt. I don't think there's an age statement on there, but if you look at it, you can see it behind me on the shelf with the silver label. It's dark as shit, so it's probably got some decent age on it.
And it's also one
it's a
that
pretty good value.
it's also one we've poured for people at the bar who have said they're not single malt fans and they hate Scotch. And then they're like, okay, this is tasty. Like I could get behind this.
Yeah. Yep. So my carts or my $500 cart, I was trying to pick things that are a little bit more adventurous, outside of the normal kind of bourbon sphere. But also I wanted a couple things that are, again, like some more versatile things. So I have the Jack Bonded Rye for $37.99. Again, I always want to include something that's like usable for cocktails, and the Bonded Rye is probably my favorite rye to use for cocktails. And also just super, like Dan said, it's super drinkable, neat, very accessible even for non-fans of rye. So then I've got the Rye 3 cigar batch, which was the favorite thing that we tried when we had Karthik on. There's just so much complexity in it, and like different levels of like sweetness, and then the rye just complements it so well. Highly recommend that one. Old Overholt 11-year rye for $109.99. I wanted to throw in something with a higher age statement. That's a fantastic rye at 11 years. That's a pretty good price. And then I got Chattanooga 111 for all the things that we already talked about. It's got a lot of cool nuance because of the high malt, without sacrificing those bourbon notes that everybody loves. It's $52.99. I've got the Knob Creek 12 for $72.99. Again, like unbeatable value, like Dan spoke about. And then I had like $7 or something to spend, so I did a 50 mil of Benchmark number 8 and a 50 mil of Four Roses small batch.
50 milliliter. Didn't know that was part of the rules.
$499.92.
When you're scraping and throwing straws at anything to try and make something that sounds.
I didn't want to waste the $6 or $7.
It's a stretch, but I think it's a good point. Like if you walk into Gold Eagle, we actually have a really, really good 50 milliliter selection. So
Yeah.
if you really do have to spend all that 500, like there's some great 50 milliliters you could get by with.
AKA if Jake's gonna give you guys a coupon code for $500 and you're at $4.98, throw a 50 ml bottle on there. It's basically the only time you would use that because you have to spend it. Because you need $2, so let's throw a couple 50 mils in. Like that's the perfect time to do it. Like I could have done that. I thought about doing that for other ones. I'm like, no, I'm going to save the $5.
Yeah, so it's funny because occasionally the company that we partner with for our online store will throw out a coupon code like spend over $100 and you get 10% off. Blah blah blah, and that's when we'll get like the most obscure things ordered online. Like somebody will put like 3 bottles of whiskey and then like a bag of chips, and it's like, really? And then we look at it and it's like, oh, okay, you needed to hit that $100 mark to get that coupon to activate. So yeah, there's a lot of good 50 milliliters. I always take a few with when I travel. That's for sure.
Same.
Yeah.
We've seen my photos with me. I'm gonna get more people doing that. It's a cool way to remember a cool spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I picked those two. Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of different combinations of those 50 mils. But yeah, I wanted to throw Benchmark in there. We talked about Benchmark, already quite a bit. But then, the Four Roses small batch is also a fantastic whiskey. Not as good as the small batch select, but it's up there.
If you want a good whiskey for $34.99, whatever it is, $32, that's a great bottle to go for. Not as complex as the small batch select, but
Yeah, still pretty solid.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are my little nods to Buffalo Trace and Four Roses.
I don't know. I like my card a lot. Gold Eagle Jake's probably my second favorite in that round.
All right, Dan, fucking.
So basically, Jake is your last place for all the rounds.
Yeah, let's
Pretty much,
all
yeah.
act surprised. That
Pretty
Dan's
much.
gonna put me in last place.
His first two rounds were the exact same.
They
As
were
much
not.
Heaven Hills he could pour down his throat. So
No, I think we all had a good variety. I think we all put some good thought into these. I do like how everybody's cart has a little bit of this and a little bit of that in each round.
we all had good crossover too. Like we all mentioned a few similar things.
Yeah, and there was things that I didn't put in there, you didn't put in there that we wanted to, that made it in there somehow. So I do think these are some pretty solid carts to go off of. But yeah, obviously put in your own cart and let us know your feedback on what you think. And I think I will give out a coupon code for let's do BM500 for 15% off a $500 cart. Let's see.
All right.
Let's see who
Look at
uses
that.
it.
That's a big saving.
That's a big savings. Let's see if anybody wants to use it. But I think if you're gonna stock up BM 500, why not save 15%? Do it all at once.
I'll tell you what. If someone buys my $500 cart, I will pick you up a Benchmark Foolproof for free.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
interesting. All right, so let's see. Let's see how many listeners are carefully listening.
Now, if you want to do that, then that means you would get a Blue Spot, an Old Elk Wheat Whiskey 10-year, a Barrel Craft Gray Label Seagrass, and a Benchmark Foolproof for $500 for the three main ones, plus 15% off. Plus, I'll come and get a full Benchmark Foolproof thrown in.
Well, they'll have to add a bag of
Pay for
chips
that.
or some minis to hit the 500
Oh,
to
yeah.
activate the coupon code.
Yeah.
So, and they'll also have to act quick because the Blue Spot doesn't last long.
I saw it on there, and I'm like, yeah, it's on the list.
Yeah. My only disclaimer with that is sale items will not work. It has to be regularly priced items. Our online store does not like when you put in sale items. It won't discount any further. If you don't know, we have very slim margins in this industry, so we can't give discounts on top of sale items.
My card had nothing on sale, so you are all welcome for that. This was done very easily by the Gold Eagle app, because that's how I did all my stuff. Is I put it in the cart and made sure the gross total or net total was underneath the marks. Jake, where can people buy stuff from Gold Eagle and get these coupons used up and get a free benchmark? They'll have to probably tell you that they're buying my cart, but you do that, and I'll Venmo you the money, and you can grab them the
If they use the BM 500 coupon code, I'll know, and I'll match it up with your cart. But yeah, you can download our app on the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. You can go to goldeaglewine.com, check out there, use BM 500 at the checkout. Again, it won't work with items that are already on sale, but I do think this is a great opportunity if you're looking to expand your collection. If you're looking to stock up a little bit, save 15% while you're doing it. And thank you for listening to the Bourbon Matters podcast. I always love when I see the BM coupon codes go through, because that means we have listeners that are also engaging with the store. But yeah, follow us on Instagram at Gold Eagle Wine. Follow us on Facebook at Gold Eagle Spirits, and continue listening to this awesome podcast.
And Jake, before you tell where people can find us and watch us at, why don't you let us know about the new charity bottle we have at the Gold Eagle Bar, what that's going for, and how much we've raised for charity so far this year.
Yeah. So this, I guess it's the March one. We're a little bit off the schedule on month because we
we'll catch
blew
up
through the stag real quick. But bottle right now is Bullet Blenders Select. By all accounts, this is a very, very tasty bourbon.
If
so
you
I
haven't
highly
tried
recommend
it,
that
you need to come in and try this bottle. It's a very tasty bottle. It's one of those bottles that when it first came out sat on the shelf and then all of a sudden it was all gone.
Yeah.
Mine didn't last long when I bought one.
And yeah, extremely tasty, and it's very, very flavorful for its proof point. And all the money goes to charity. So there's really no reason not to come in and try this.
Yeah. It's only $4 for the half ounce, so it's a pretty good value. We're raising money for the Special Recreation Association of Central Lake County. We talked about them for the Stag bottle as well, and so far we've raised $425 for them, which I'm pretty proud of.
Yes.
So hoping to get those numbers up. So yeah, be sure you go in, try that bottle. Then we'll have another one after that runs out. That'll also be going to the same charity. Then we'll be looking at another charity. So keep those recommendations coming of any local charities. Yeah, I think we'd all prefer to keep our funds local if possible. So yeah, reach out. Either bourbonmatters@gmail.com or DM, one of the three of us, or DM Bourbon Matters on Instagram or Facebook. Which you can find us at Bourbon Matters on Facebook or Instagram. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Watch us on Spotify and YouTube. Make sure you comment about whose carts you liked best.
Or what you would put in for your own cart for those price ranges.
Yeah, let us know what your cart would be.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm interested, and let us know what your cart would be for each of these three categories.
Yeah, I want to see some wild carts.
I mean,
Get adventurous.
yeah, get adventurous. Do all Heaven Hill in one cart.
Hey, if it works and it's good, I'm not just gonna not do that.
Yeah, let's expand our collection by not going outside of what we normally drink. Sounds great.
I like what I like.
And no one else likes it, as we've seen from
That's
Blind
not
Dogs.
true. That's not true.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I bottle killed my Journeyman popcorn on this episode. I'm trying to get through bottles before a move coming up later this year, so I don't have to move a bunch of shit. So I'm proud to kill another bottle.
And you didn't have to fill a Glencairn all the way
I did not
to
have
the
to fill a
rim.
Glencairn to the very top. I'm getting smarter as I age. So, if you're wondering, meth. So,
Yeah, you probably can't find it anymore, right?
Which one? The
I know they're
popcorn?
not making again. I think you guys got a bunch. Don't
Gold
you?
Eagle. Gold Eagle has it. I think we have.
Oh, you do still?
Yeah, we have like 8 bottles left. I actually think it's a great bottle for the price that we have it. Dan, you said it's 150 at the distillery.
Yeah, it's 160. Well, it was 160 at the distillery, but then like they said they weren't going to make it again. They way overcharged for it. So I think they started because it wasn't available anywhere outside the distillery, and I think they were sitting on a shit ton of it. So then they put it out to distribution to get rid of it.
I was going to
They
say we have it
overpriced
for
down.
80,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I've heard from
it's not-
multiple people it's 160 at the distillery.
Yeah, I mean, part of it's because of the packaging they put it in and stuff. Like I think they're trying to make this special, but they've said they're not making it again.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth. But for $80, I would say it's worth it if you're a collector. So
All right.
I would not say go to the distillery and get it for 160. That was a dumb idea, but I was there and drunk. So sometimes we make bad decisions when we drink.
Yeah, like your cart.
I was still wearing my cart. Kick the shit out of your cart's ass. So
All right.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
cheers.
Cheers.